Hey, what is up? This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com, NJ, along with MIB. It is Monday, April 17th. We're on the eve of yet another round between the Leafs and Lightning as we watch the Panthers and Bruins go at it in game one of their first round Stanley Cup playoff series. Mike, I'm super excited. You were at practice a couple of days ago. You got a sense of how the guys are feeling leading into this next series with Tampa. Look, this group collectively has won a ton of regular season games. Regular season dynamos have never won a NHL Stanley Cup playoff series. And here we are with an opportunity to right all of those wrongs and move on and do things that they've never done before. Again, we were on the eve of this Stanley Cup final series between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game one at Scotiabank Arena, this time tomorrow night. How are you feeling?
Good evening, Norm. I mean, people can tell from who I picked, and we'll talk about that in a little while, that I'm recognizing that the Maple Leafs are a lot better than they were last year. But as I think I've made pretty clear over the last 2 months, when we knew that they were going to play Tampa, it was, okay, show me. Because until you show me, I'm not going to believe it.
Right.
I don't care what Tampa Bay has done. I know Tampa Bay has not played well since the trade deadline. You know, they're short a couple players. Maroon probably won't be 100%. We don't know whether Tanner Jeannot will be in the lineup. All those things, all those factors, that's like everybody is like, take me, I'm yours. That's
right.
I don't believe it. This is a team with championship pedigree. They've got Hedman and Stamkos and Point and Kucherov and Vasilevsky being the most important one who can steal games. Yes, they're worn down. They've played 71 playoff games, 71. Right. That means an extra season over the last three seasons.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
The Leafs can't take them for granted. They have to step on their neck and kill them. And if they do, then they'll win the series. But I'll wait to see whether they do or not.
So this group, going back to 2017, they squeak in against the Capitals. They're the darlings. They go 6. They can't get it done. They take Boston to 7 in 2018. 7. Couldn't win. 2019, they were up 3-2. Game 6, they blew. Game 7, they were up with an opportunity to win or at least take the series. Up in game 7, second period, couldn't do it. Okay? Then we get into 2020. Columbus, kind of a modified situation. They blew a wheel. Montreal up 3-1. Lost the series. 22. Up 3-2. Lost game 6, lost game 7. Okay. So forget about the fatalistic results if this team does not win. At the end of the day, the time has come for this group to win. It's better than it's ever been. The core is as motivated and as hungry as it's ever been. The support cast is as good as it's ever been. The goaltending on paper is as good as it's ever been. Tampa's as vulnerable.
I think we lost Norm here for a second. There we go.
Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate that. The Leafs are as good as they've ever been. Tampa's as vulnerable as it's ever been. If this team can't win this series, it deserves to be blown up. OG's converts, whether you were a diehard or a skeptic, you know this. Starting tomorrow, it is time to put this Tampa team away. 2 games to start at home. We all know this, guys. We all know this. This is the best opportunity this group has had to put a vulnerable team away that's still fighting and swinging with championship pedigree. This is the time. We know it. If they don't win, forget it. It's easy. It's simple. We all know this.
Well, I mean, there is a sense of do or die, obviously. And I mean, I think, and I can't say desperation because I think they were the moves that needed to be made. But, Kyle Dubas is sort of singing for a supper here. He's, if the Leafs do not win, he's in the final year of his contract. He's probably gone. Sheldon Keefe's got a year left in his contract. He's probably gone. and new management probably wouldn't hesitate to shake up the core. So I think that there has to be a level of desperation greater than what has been through this 6 years of playoff ineptitude during the first Lamoriello and then Dubas administrations to get things done. Now, whether they can, again, Tampa Bay is not the Tampa Bay of 3 years ago or 2 years ago or last year. They've lost players due to injury. They've lost players due to free agency. They've traded players because of salary cap situations. Okay, so they're not as deep, and the Leafs, I think, are deeper. But as we've said, it's going to come down to the core group that we know with Tampa that can win and play and perform when they need to against the Leaf core that has not proved that yet. Right. And that is the big thing. Can this core group perform at a higher level at the time they need them when Tampa, that group, there was a lot of question marks in 2019 when they lost to Columbus, got swept by Columbus. They were the President's Trophy winner, and they got swept 4 straight by Columbus. So in that instance, when they're getting swept by Columbus, they decided they went out and they added players. They added Maroon. They added Barclay Goodrow. They added what's his name for Blake Coleman. They added those players, and those players were the reason why they won their first Stanley Cup. The Leafs have added players, character players, players with sandpaper, and the question is whether those players will lead them not to a Stanley Cup, lead them to a first-round win. Right now, that's all that Leaf Nation is.
Too bad, Mike. Sorry to cut you off. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. You want to know why we're doing the show late tonight? It's because I'm selling cars. There's not a lot of inventory out there, and this is car buying season. In the winter season, it's hunting season. Now it is shooting fish in a barrel. And it's not because we're great at our jobs. It's just because people want vehicles. April, May, June, July. There's not a lot out there. If you're thinking of doing something, don't wait, because you're not going to get what you want. Make sure to get at me. You know how to email me, theleafsconvo@gmail.com. You can reach out to me at what is my Twitter address? I don't even go on Twitter.
I am Norman James.
I am Norm James. You can reach out to me through the podcast. I can get you my cell phone number. I'm telling you right now, guys, Oak Ridge Ford, I'll get you the deal. If you're looking for a vehicle, don't wait. Now is the time. I will certainly take care of you. You know what's crazy, Mike, is that all these years later, we're still trying to get through the first round. It's remarkable, and it's sad. But we just have to keep on keeping on, Mike. This group collectively has played a ton of fucking playoff games. It's not like it does not have the experience. This is not a maiden voyage. Every time this team sets sail, it sinks. This is the time. And, when you have Ryan O'Reilly, who's won a Conn Smythe, you've Matt Murray. Has Matt Murray won a Conn Smythe too? He's won 2 championships. You have guys like Luke Schenner, just support players with a championship. There's got to be another 1 or 2 guys who've won titles. This is as good a support group as Kyle Dubas has been able to assemble around the core. And there was a comment in the chat here not too long ago. If I can find it, it would make sense. Spike 11. Here it is, Mike. This sounds extremely optimistic and almost unattainable. But here it is. Leafs in 5. Put this fucking team away. If you've got it, put this team away.
Well, I mean, I can understand that viewpoint. I agree it's optimistic. And again, if the team plays up to their talent level, then that's possible. Now, here's where, okay, you can call me superstitious. You can call me, whatever. I was standing literally right next to Ilya Samsonov on Saturday with the media huddled around, and he said, And in his sort of broken English, because the English is his second language, the Leafs are the best team in the league. And Mark Masters from TSN asked him, what do you judge that on? And he says, well, we have the best doctors, we have the best training staff, he went down a sort of a laundry list. I mean, that's great that he's that confident. Some people believe that's, and goaltenders have to be confident because they're facing pucks coming at them 100 miles an hour. But you think about bulletin board material, folks. I mean, maybe Tampa doesn't.
He's Russian. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, no,
say what's on their mind, and the fact that he's irreverent like that and outspoken, I actually kind of like. And you know what? Maybe the Leafs need to be that way instead of the quiet team that might be able to show some intestinal fortitude. They should have won all these years ago. Now is our year. Tampa isn't circling the toilet bowl, but man, they are vulnerable. They're not that team that they once were. If the Leafs, with everything they've got at their disposal right now, and all of that, the resources that have helped to make them what they are, can't bury Tampa now, a team that finished below them in the regular season and was garbage the last couple of months, forget it. It really is do or die, but I'm really thinking the do outweighs the die right now, Mike.
Well, I mean, and like I said, your points are valid, and maybe I'm wrong to be overly suspicious about that team playing not very well the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the regular season. I just don't believe it. I just don't trust it. Now, I hope I'm wrong, because the people who read me at Hockey Buzz and watch the convo and listen, they all want this team to win. And I understand that. And I for their sakes, I hope they do, because the angst that Leafs Nation feels right now over, failure after failure after failure. I mean, it's 39 playoff games in the last 6 years.
Right.
39. So, and they've lost, other than that 6-game loss to Washington, they've lost every deciding game. Every one. So how do you avoid that? You don't get to a deciding game. You beat them early. But if you're going to tell me that if this series goes 7 games, that their sphincters are not going to be tightening, you're wrong.
You're right, Mike. Joe Shedler, he's an OG, 100%. He's in and out, but he's an OG. I've had a feeling it's Leafs in 5 all week. Here's the thing, Joe. It was Leafs in 5 last year, too. And the year before that against the shitbox Canadians who went all the way to the fucking final. And it was Leafs in however many against Columbus. I don't even know how many games they played. 3 of 5. And then they were finally to get Boston and beat them because they played them a year prior and came close. Here we are again, being super optimistic. For me, it's just a matter of being practical. Get rid of this team. Expunge it. Exorcise the demons. Get rid of it and move on to that damn black and yellow club that just blew the entire league away. Won 8 straight to finish a record-breaking season. That's what I'm saying. Dispose of Tampa. If we think this team is as good as it is, get rid of this team. If you're going to lengths with a team like Tampa that's still trying to fight to keep its relevancy, and you think you're that much better, and Samsonov thinks the team the team is that much greater, I'm telling you, this idea that I think Adam Biley, it's what did he say? First round win is good enough for now. I thought that too. But after you win that first round, you're going to want more. Dispose of this team, and it starts, Mike, with winning game 1 and game 2, going back to Tampa up 2-0. Forget the split. Win both. If you don't win both, I'm not feeling good about this series.
Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Right.
And if you remember last year, the Leafs came out like their hair was on fire. They won 5-0. They kicked Tampa.
And then what?
And then game 2, Tampa wins. Okay, they come back. They regain home ice advantage. The Leafs win game 3 in Tampa. Then they lose game 4. They get housed in game 4. Then they win game 5. Then they lose in overtime in game 6. And then they lose 2-1 in game 7. And Vasilevsky shows up in game 6 and 7. And that's why I'm saying it's like, okay, Vasilevsky's not Superman. He lost 4 straight to Columbus back in the day. So, but he is a great goaltender. The Leafs cannot
after that.
the Leafs cannot get into a position where they're and Kevin Paul DuPont, who's a Hall of Fame Boston writer, was on Bob McCown's podcast a couple days ago, and he said
probably thinks the Red Sox are going to win the AL East too, right?
Well, so he's not that clueless. But he said something that is, he said, the addition of O'Reilly is great. The addition of all these players are great. He says, now, do the Leafs have the mental toughness, the mental strength? And that is where this series will be won or lost. Can they avoid that clinch? That, I don't want to see the other C word. Can they avoid that? It's like, if they can, then they'll win the series. But again, show me. I will not believe it until I see it happen.
Mary Jane, what's your say on Kiefer? Here's the thing. If Sheldon Keefe has to outcoach John Cooper to win this series, we're in trouble. Really. We're seriously in trouble. Tickley Oxygen and OG's Converse will try to get to you as much as we possibly can because, again, who knows? We could be 2 weeks out from the end of another combo season. We may be just kicking off a 3-month run, and wouldn't that be beautiful? Take the most gentle dog in the world, put it in a corner, and poke it enough, it's going to bite. This year, the Leafs are that dog. I think they've had enough of the embarrassment. There it is. Have they? Like, you were at practice on Saturday. You got Ilya Samsonov cranking Russian vodka, yapping about how great the organization is, okay? A lot of people think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Guys like you and I were on that train years ago and we realized it's just another fucking franchise.
Right.
What are the guys saying? Have they had enough of this embarrassment? Can you sense that they have the mental toughness to get it done this time?
They're saying the right things. I mean, John Tavares talked to the media, and he said the right things, but it's not what you say, it's what you do. And that's where this team is. It's like, I asked Sheldon Keefe, you had the advantage. You had the advantage that no other team other than Tampa, other than your opponent, that you knew who you were going to play for 2 months and that you could plan to how to play that team. And how much of an advantage was that? And he says, well, definitely it was an advantage, but as opposed to other teams that had a day or two to plan on who they were going to play against. But so did John Cooper. Sheldon Keefe is a good coach. Some Leaf fans don't want to believe that. He is a good coach. John Cooper is probably the best or second best coach in this league. So again, your goaltending is good, but you're coming up against Andrei Vasilevsky, who's the best in the league. You've got a really good coach, but you're going up against a guy who's won 2 Stanley Cups and gotten to 3 Stanley Cup finals. That's why if there was any way to avoid playing Tampa, that would have been the way to go. But the way you get over the hump is to beat the team that beat you. They have to do that. Now, will they do it? We'll see.
This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com, NJMIB. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. Mike, after 4+ years, 5 years, we're up to 3,500 subscribers on YouTube. Whoop-dee. I'm super thankful for all of the support. We probably had 1,000 unsubs too because they don't like what we have to talk about. But you know what? Until our very last day, we're going to talk what we talk about. We're going to talk the way we want to talk. It is interesting. It's very Leafy that, there's this sense of, well, the Leafs are going to beat a team that's won all the titles and we've won jack shit, right? I'm not sensing a lot of humility from most Leaf fans because, again, most of them are pretty smart and they understand that the Leafs are as good as they have been in the setup towards the playoffs, and Tampa's as vulnerable as it has been. So practically, statistically, the Leafs are right there. But just in terms of the intangibles, in terms of the history of this relationship in the playoffs, and what you're getting in a Tampa team, I think there should be a little more humility. There's a little less expectation that we're going to take down a team that's won all the titles versus a team that's won fuck all, right? What I'm saying is this team is as poised as it has ever been to finally get the job done against a team that has been knocked down a peg. It is time to take your place among that upper echelon. This is the time. Last year we figured it was the time. Guess it wasn't. This is as good a time as it's ever been. And again, it's not like, hey, the pressure's on, guys. But if you can't make it happen this time, we're reassessing the whole thing. Because if that core four is back next year to take another crack at it with Dubas and Keefe, fuck it. Fuck it. Convo doesn't exist. I can't follow a team that's just doing the same old shit. As you just said, history repeats itself constantly. It's the definition of insanity. So really, there's a lot of pressure on in this circumstance, and I think these guys need to rise to the pressure. What is interesting, and I'll end my diatribe here, is that you go to Scotiabank Arena all the way from Buffalo. The only guy who's given you any kind of colorful soundbite is Ilya Samsonov, who can barely speak English, right? Who's probably one of Putin's puppets. Like, is this really you're not getting any kind of color from anyone else? Like, we know Tavares has no personality. Nylander has no personality. Mitch Marner speaks out of just this book of just his responses.
Well,
Dubas has no personality. The head coach has no personality, and Austin Matthews does, but he's where he is, right? Honestly, was there nobody ramped up to go, I can't wait for this puck to drop?
Oh, I think they all think that, and I wasn't in the scrums with Ryan O'Reilly. I got to Luke Shen later on, and Ryan O'Reilly won a Stanley Cup. Luke Shen's won 2 Stanley Cups. The only other cup on the entire roster is not available, and that's Jake Muzzin. So, Matt Murray won 2 Stanley Cups. So you got 5 Stanley Cups as opposed to all the cups that all the different players on Tampa Bay. Most of that group has won 2. So I mean, this is the thing. If you go point by point, if you go position by position, the Leafs are the better team. That means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. But teams that are not as good can beat teams that are better. Now, if you want to go position by position, Tampa Bay's better in goal because Vasilevsky, again, is one of the best, I'd say 2 or 3 goaltenders in the league. The Leafs do have a little bit of an advantage here. Matt Murray was practicing on Saturday before the team got out there for a full practice. He seems to be getting closer. Joseph Woll, the Marlies don't start their playoffs until April the 27th. So they basically have Joseph Woll, and they can keep him up until the 27th, unless Murray is, not available. So, I mean, right now, I think that, the Leafs, in terms of Samsonov, are not as good as Tampa, but they're close. Defensively, I think the Leafs are deeper. They're better. Tampa Bay has had some issues over the last few weeks. Bogosian has been out, former Leaf. Zach Bogosian has been out. It looks like he's close to being ready for game 1, if not early on, then maybe a little later on. But they've got the horse. They've got the best defenseman in Victor Hedman of all those players. He's the Leafs 1 through 6 are better. Is Tampa? Tampa will ride Hedman. They'll ride Sergachev. They'll ride Cernak. They've got a couple veterans in Cole and Bogosian. So their defense, they're not very deep. And for the Leafs to make that a weakness, they have to pound that defense. They have to hit Bogosian, who's been out of the lineup for a while. They have to hit Cernak, who's been in and out of the lineup. Forward-wise, I think the Leafs are just as good as Tampa. And this is a team, again, that's won, been in 3 Stanley Cup finals. But again, will the core guys show up? That's yet to be proven. We'll see.
OG's converts, what say you? Check us out, youtube.com/the Leafs Convo /community. I have polls in there. I think we broke a record for most interactions with a poll. We're closing in on 300 for that poll. And if I pull it up right now, it'll give you an indication of where people's heads are at right now at this point, Mike. Where are we? Let's go. And sorry about all the technical difficulties. I've got 50 calls coming from my wife. My earpods connected. I do my show from my iPhone 14. So that's why we do what we do. We're on a very tight budget because we don't make any money. And we do this for fun. We do this to just kind of continue the lifespan of the convo because it goes back years and years and years. But when you're not generating major revenue, and by no means should we be doing that based on the fact that we're so infrequent compared to a lot of other um, podcasts. We just do what we can with what we have. So we appreciate your support, guys. But clearly, I'm not investing thousands of dollars into something that I can only devote my time to for a couple of days during the week. But even in that time, we get thousands of views, thousands of listens, and we're very appreciative of the relationship. So Leafs Combo poll 3 days ago. What are your early feelings on Lightning Leafs? You can see this right now, youtube.com/Leafs Combo/community. So 243 votes. I think that's the most votes we've had for any poll. So thank you very much for that. 75% of you said Leafs win in 5 or 6. 11% think the Leafs will win in 7. 14% think the Leafs win again. And the sentiment is not unanimous, Mike, but it's the majority of us. Win this bloody series as early as possible, because the deeper it gets, the more treacherous it gets, the greater opportunity for failure.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll talk about
Mike, a beauty.
No, I was gonna say we'll talk about what happens when that happens.
Right.
You know, I understand like and people were calling me like Johnny Raincloud because by the way, folks, I predicted the Lightning in 7. Okay.
Johnny Raincloud.
Yeah. Okay. So I predicted the Lightning in 7. Do I hope I'm wrong? Yes.
Was he on Buffalo Saturday Mornings with Commander Tom, Johnny Raincloud?
No, that was that Tom Joles, by the way, former weatherman. But yeah, no, so
little animated creature, guy with the dog.
Oh, I know what you're talking. That was before my time, though. I mean, if you can believe anything, it was before my time.
I'm gonna look it
up. By the way, I've invested thousands of dollars in these guitars here, so I'm making lots of. Just kidding.
Listen, if it's not the Les Paul from Jimmy Page 73, it's not worth anything. So
I have a Fender Stratocaster, so there you go.
Okay, there you
go. But yeah, so no, I like I was saying, it's like I understand the desperation, the hope, the optimism, the like, just get this effing done. All that whole thing. I get it. I understand it. But I think everybody can understand from my, logical analysis of the situation that, okay, this team has proved one thing, that they can lose in heartbreaking fashion over and over and over. And if you didn't, maybe it's, it's the residue of being a fan, but when you keep doing the same thing over and over, you just expect that to happen over and over. So I hope that the success of this team, I hope that the fans in Maple Leaf Square get a chance to cheer, unlike what happened in Jurassic Park last week. So, because this fan base deserves it. And please, I don't think anybody wants like other fans and other reporters outside, they're all expecting the Leafs to choke. They're all expecting it. They're not saying it. They're saying, "Oh, the Leafs should win," but in the back of their minds, it's like, they're going to choke. They're going to choke. They're going to choke. You know what?
Right.
Prove them wrong. That's all I have to say.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, breaking down position by position, goalie by goalie, forward by forward, coach by coach. What the hell does it matter now? This is not a new thing. It's just old hat. Here we go again. Look at the abundance of playoff games this group has played together, and to no avail, right? Davy and Goliath, Mike. Do you remember that?
I was a little young for that.
Hey, stop it. You're like 15 years older than I am. I remember that. My nanny's place in the beaches. Winneba Ave. Anybody in Toronto remember that place? Winneba Ave, just probably about 200 meters north of Queen. Amazing. So if we were going to get down to the brass tacks and just kind of look at it analytically here, the power play, I think that Sheldon Keefe wants to give Tampa a couple of different looks. They don't want to just keep bombarding them with the same guys. So he wants to mix it up a little bit like that.
Yeah,
talk to me about talk to me. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, this is a guy who's won a trophy for himself in a long playoff run, including his ring, right? So there's a guy who's been around the block, but you're dealing with Tampa. They've won 2 rings together, and they've been through an extra season in terms of the second season. Is there Is there a group, or is there a group of players outside of the core four that you may think that at the end of the day are the reason why this team was able to succeed?
Well, I mean, O'Reilly definitely is a key. And at practice today, they had O'Reilly playing center and Tavares moving to the left side.
Right.
Again, now I think they may start with that, but I think later on in the game there'll be some mixing and matching, and they'll move O'Reilly down to a third line up the middle, to give yourself Matthews, Tavares, and O'Reilly up the middle, and having Achari maybe move to the wing and David Camp being the fourth line guy. They have a lot of flexibility, so they can throw a lot of different combos at the Lightning, and that's important because you're trying to avoid matchups. You're trying to not have Cirelli playing against Matthews. You're trying to avoid Tavares against Braden Point. Well, Tavares is not as fast, but O'Reilly defensively can keep them in check. So it's like those type of moves. Now, in terms of the power play, they may throw a few different wrinkles, but they're not going to deviate from what they've done over 82 games. It's going to be Riley feeding the two howitzers on the half boards, Matthews and Nylander. That's where your shots are coming. I really can't stand all the criticism that Morgan Riley gets because he doesn't have a big shot from the point. He's a distributor. He's not a shooter. He'll shoot every once in a while, but the power play runs through Marner, and it's feeding the two shooters, and that's how it works. So I think like Mike V said in the chat, Achari, a playoff veteran who's been to a Stanley Cup final with the Bruins, O'Reilly, who won at the Conn Smythe, Schenn, who's got 2 Stanley Cups, Jake McCabe, I think it's his first playoff game tomorrow, so he doesn't have any experience. But those guys, crash and bang guys, they need to do that job.
Yeah, and they want to support the core four. You got, again, amongst the best group of 4 players that any team in this league can boast, and any team in recent years could ever want to have, right? If you look at Matthews, what he's accomplished, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, come on. It is high time that it happens.
Now,
back a year from now, Mike, we could literally duplicate this podcast in this way versus what we did a year ago. This could be a complete duplication. We would have said back then what we're saying now. It is high time. But again, there's only, one way to sort this out when you have another chance is to take another crack at it. I wanted to get a comment in from our friend Danny Grinnick from New England. Even if it doesn't make sense to get excited and talk trash, so what? It's a game. It's supposed to be entertaining. Talk trash and look a fool better than just looking the fool and not having fun. Danny's putting things in perspective for us, and that's the key. And you know what? I think we are relatively subdued compared to, combos of the past. I'm feeling optimistic about what's taking place. If I thought this team sucked and didn't have a chance, I certainly would tell you. Not only do I feel like, based on the lineage and the process and everything that's gone on, is this team going to win? It should. Based on the way it lines up against Tampa, a team that leaves a little bit to be desired, not as great and not in his position of prominence or leverage as it has been in the past, the Leafs weigh out against them more favorably. So sure, yeah, just like years past, I think the Leafs should win this series. This time, for real. And if they don't, heads will roll. 100,000%. Mike, last couple of comments to you and we'll go.
Yeah, as expected, and they, the lines that were put together at practice today and the defensive pairings are likely what they're going to work with in game 1. They had Bunting with Matthews and Marner. They had, as I said, O'Reilly with Tavares and Nylander.
Yeah.
On defense, Timothy Liljegren was the extra defenseman, and Justin Hall was playing with Mark Giordano. So they're going to go. Luke Schenn was playing with Morgan Riley. Now, I don't think Luke Schenn is going to play all the time with Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley is going to probably log about 25 minutes, and so will TJ Brody. But Hall is in there because he's part of the PK. I don't agree with it. I think Liljegren's the better defenseman, and he might be on a short leash. So if he makes a fatal error or two, then it might be Liljegren in there. But they're going to start with their bigger six, and I knew Luke Shen would be in there because that was the whole point of trading for him, was to have his physicality against that Tampa team.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
Look, Justin Hall knows that Sheldon Keefe has gambling debts, and Sheldon Keefe's trying to keep it from his wife. And Justin Hall was threatening to tell his wife. That's why he's in the lineup. And obviously, I'm being facetious.
He's joking, folks. He's joking.
Okay, stop. This isn't not Sportsnet, man. This is a podcast. It gets even worse in other places. And I am joking, but you know what I'm talking about. We all know that Justin Hall is not of top caliber, right? I mean, we've been talking about it for months, that this guy really should be a seventh defenseman, but he's not. He started out pretty good, and he hasn't taken the ball and run with it, right? I mean, I don't understand, if you've got big league qualities, how not given big league minutes, you can't become big league. And that's the problem with Justin Hall. I pray to God that he doesn't become a clusterfuck in big moments and contribute in a personal way to this team losing. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible, because how many podcasts have you and I done, Mike, over the last several months where we've been like, wow, Justin Hall single-handedly did something, or that guy was the player of the game. It's usually he screwed up. It's remarkable, given this chance, this amazing 1 in a million chance, that he has not been able to improve. And here he is with a role of prominence in the most important series in this franchise's history. Let's get serious about it, right? We can all be excited and all get hyped up, all get pumped. And what's going to happen, Mike, and I love the OGs and converts, if this team loses in 6 or 7, those same people who are so fired up are going to be back here when we do the post-mortem, wanting heads to roll. And that's the thing. We have to have some perspective, right? You're quietly optimistic, cautiously optimistic, really. But based on everything we've seen in the past, how the hell are we just supposed to say, yeah, this is the year it's going to happen? We're going to look like we're idiots, because we said this last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. For real. You know what I'm saying? Last word to you, Mike.
Well, there's not much more to say other than, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be emotional.
I hope it's emotional. I hope it is. I hope this is personal.
Well, I'm talking about the fans. I think the players have to keep some things in check. Yes, they're going to need physicality. They're going to need players like Achari and O'Reilly and Shen to hit people, but they're also going to need
surgeons have won a Stanley Cup.
What's that?
Which group of surgeons have won a Stanley Cup?
I know.
There's got to be some kind of emotion with this group, and that's
I get that, Norm, but also the thing is, you can't take stupid penalties and allow the Tampa Bay power play to kill you.
Want it, Mike. Want it. There's an intangible with this, in this game, in this setting. You have to absolutely want it. This group has to realize where it stands right now and how far it's come, but how far it hasn't gone. Again, you went to practice on Saturday, and it sounds like Ilya Samsonov is talking about how great the Leafs are, but you're getting the same old bullshit from guys like Tavares. Got to play 3 zones. 60 minutes of hockey. Got to be there for your team. It sounds like an outtake from Shoresy. Like, show some fucking emotion. Seriously, if not, heads will roll. This team won't be the same. Right? There's nothing wrong with wanting more. We want more. All the guys out here who know deep down that this team could be in trouble, believes it can get more. Do the players want it, Mike? And again, I apologize for being overly enthusiastic, but this is the time. It's the playoffs, right? Everyone else can be robotic, but why should we? Sorry, Mike.
Nope. You said that's a good way to end it right there.
Right. So Twitter Spaces tomorrow after Game 1. OG's Converts, I implore you to join Mike's Twitter Spaces. Let's get this up to hundreds and hundreds of participants. NJ might jump in and get cut off again. But again, it's Mike's show, and I'm just just a contributor potentially to it. But then we will be back. Was it Mike on Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay, and that's after game 2?
That's after game 2.
Wow, they're compressing these games, eh? How's that going to affect things?
Well, actually, the interesting thing is every other day, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, then there's a 2-day break between games 4 and 5, and then it goes Thursday, Saturday, Monday if it goes to 7 games. And the interesting thing, and I'll give credit to David Alter from Hockey News, there is a concert scheduled at Scotiabank Arena on May the 1st. The band Disturbed. So if there is a game 7, Disturbed will get disturbed because they're going to have to move their concert date.
Hey, I'm not going to see any concert unless it's Les Zeppelin.
Les Nessman?
OG's Converts. I'm going to come up with a poll here by the end of the night. Let's see if we can break the record of 240 votes from a couple of days ago. This is our time, okay? We've been waiting all year for this. This is the first night of the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. We knew when the season started the Leafs would be here. We knew when the season ended last year that we'd have to labor through the summer, go through another season and get here. Here we are. Here we are. Let's have fun, okay? If the Leafs go out in 7, at least we had fun. We'll do our post-mortem, and the convo will live tomorrow. It's season 6. But if the Leafs win this series, man, all bets are off. Boston at some point has to start to unwind. It's been a season that's so fucking insane. It's hard to contemplate at this point. And maybe the Leafs are the ones who can finally throw a wrench into Boston's grand plans that I don't even think they knew would take shape to this degree when they started the season. Let's have some fun. And by doing that, contribute to the show. Like the podcast, this content right now. Go listen to some other podcasts. Go listen to the postmortem last year, the one from 2021, the one from 2020. Come back and subscribe to the channel. Then get into community, vote on the poll. Go listen to Mike's Twitter Spaces. Come back and see us after game 2. You know what I'm saying? Leafs up 2-0. That's the key. You want to go 1-1 or you want to go down 0-2, forget it. Go up 2-0. Send the message that this is the Leafs time. That's the key. If you don't agree with me, let me know inside community or let me know below this post. It'll be out there. Mike and I are doing our thing. This is our time, converts and OGs. You know it. I know it. I can't wait to see what happens next. For Mike, I'm Norm. Talk to you soon.